Caitlin Clark doesn't. And so here's a woman that becomes the biggest star in sports earlier this year, February, around that time. Goes all the way through the NCAA tournament, ends in early April. The next week, or within a week or 10 days, they have the WNBA draft, and ratings fly through the roof.
Did you see that foul on Caitlin Clark, the one that had everyone talking? It was brutal. Marina Mabrey straight up hit Clark in the head, and guess what? The refs didn't even call it. That's crazy, right? But here's the thing. It's just one part of Clark's wild rookie season story.
She averaged 19 and 8. For some context, I won Rookie of the Year. I think I averaged 12. It is a huge feat to get those types of numbers.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much.
She's the biggest star in all of sports, and she's a woman. This is very unique.
Now back to the video. Picture this. Clark's flying down the court, going for a layup. Suddenly, bam! Mabrey's hand smacks her right in the face. Everyone in the arena saw it. Fans went nuts. The commentators couldn't believe it. But the refs? They just let it slide. Can you imagine how that felt for Clark?
Clark rolls into the NCAA tournament. And by the NCAA tournament, I was like, this girl's the biggest star.
This wasn't just any foul. It could have changed the whole game. We're talking playoffs here, where every point counts. And Clark, she's not just any rookie. She's been tearing it up all season. But this foul? It's just the start of her crazy WNBA journey. You won't believe what else happened to her this year. But that foul was just the tip of the iceberg.
She had 28 points, 12 assists, and a 193 win over the Dallas Wings today.
What if I told you Clark wasn't just breaking records, she was shattering them? Her rookie season was like nothing the WNBA had ever seen before. Let's rewind to the start of Caitlin Clark's WNBA journey. This girl came in hot, ready to prove herself on the big stage.
Caitlin finally getting a moment to breathe, right? As you just mentioned, didn't even get to reflect it all on her college career and just jumped right into things and had an epic season.
And boy, did she deliver. You know what's crazy? She became the only rookie in WNBA history to score 20 points, grab 5 rebounds, and dish out 5 assists in a single game.
I think we see that. We see the capability on the basketball court. She can shoot, she can handle, she certainly can pass, okay?
That's not just good. That's legendary stuff right there. Remember her first few games? Clark was out there looking like a seasoned pro.
Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA as the most impactful women's basketball player we've seen in a generation.
She's worn out, and so are her teammates. But they get a short little break. For one straight year, everything, the weight of the world, and all these political and racial discussions centered around Caitlin Clark. And I look at last night's game and go, yeah, the play with Fag Benlay where they had her tied up and everybody just kind of walked away, I was like, oh man, they can't wait to get to Cancun.
Not some wide-eyed rookie. She was dropping dimes, sinking buckets, and snagging rebounds like it was no big deal.
I had mixed feelings, obviously, seeing all the Caitlin jerseys in our home, but it's an amazing sign for women's basketball.
The fans were going wild, and even the commentators couldn't stop talking about her. Picture this, Clark's on the court, ball in hand. She's weaving through defenders like they're standing still. Suddenly she pulls up for a 3. Swish!
But now you see her in the WNBA, and you can say the exact same thing. Most impactful that we've seen in women's basketball.
Nothing but net. The crowd goes nuts. That's the kind of excitement she brought to every game. But here's where it gets interesting. Clark wasn't just putting up numbers, she was changing the game.
Caitlin Clark got you watching the league because it wasn't just her. You wanted to see who eventually she was going to end up going against.
Her court vision was off the charts. 1 second she's looking left, the next thing you know, she's fired a no-look pass to her right for an easy bucket.
Same 2 reasons. Arenas were upgraded, viewership through the roofs. But then when it comes to the basketball,
who does that in their rookie season? And let's talk about her scoring. This girl could light it up from anywhere on the court. Threes, mid-range jumpers, crafty layups, you name it, she could do it.
Here's a woman that becomes the biggest star in sports earlier this year.
It was like watching a highlight reel in real time every single game. But you know what's even crazier? Clark was doing all this while her team...
Yes, we're looking at the unanimous choice for AP Rookie of the Year, a first team all WNBA, okay?
The Indiana Fever was struggling. It's like she was playing on a whole different level. Imagine being so good that you're breaking records left and right, but your team still can't catch a break. That's the kind of season Clark was having. Her coach, Christy Sides, couldn't stop praising her.
I think the word that Caitlin just used when she said resilient, I think that's what I'm sitting here.
After one particularly physical game, Sides said, just more happy that Caitlin handled it the way she did. She's continued to fight through that.
Fourth in the league in MVP voting, and we see all of these things. Certainly she's going to be a great player.
That's the kind of toughness you don't usually see in rookies. Clark wasn't just playing well, she was showing the heart of a champion. And here's the thing, all this was happening while Clark was facing some serious challenges.
How all of a sudden that's in the mind's eye of everybody else. You clearly have this person, Caitlin Clark, to thank for it.
We're talking about hard fouls, double teams, you name it. But did she let it get to her? No way. She just kept balling out, game after game.
She's just a generational player, and she just makes everybody around her better.
You'd think with all that talent, Clark's team would be dominating, right? Wrong. The Indiana Fever were struggling big time, especially in the third quarter. It's like they hit a wall every single game. How did Clark handle this roller coaster? Let's talk about the Indiana Fever season.
One of the most unique experiences in the history of sports. And I'm talking about the Caitlin Clark experience.
It was rough, to say the least. They had this weird thing going on where they'd come out strong, but then bam, third quarter hits, and it's like they forgot how to play basketball. It happened game after game.
All the money and visibility she bring into the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes.
You could almost set your watch by it. Clark's out there balling, but her team just couldn't keep up.
Caitlin Clark experience has been nonstop since last October, early November.
Imagine being Clark. You're breaking records left and right, but your team's still at the bottom of the standing. That's got to be frustrating, right?
She's accomplished. Give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters.
But here's the crazy part. Clark didn't let it get to her. She just kept pushing, kept playing her heart out.
She was the biggest star in college sports. She took that mantle.
Now, let's talk about the physical play Clark faced. This wasn't your average rookie treatment. We're talking hard fouls, double teams, the work.
She's bigger than any college football player. She's certainly bigger than any college basketball player.
It's like every team in the league decided Clark was public enemy number one. They were coming at her hard, trying to throw her off her game.
And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport.
You know what's wild? Clark took it all in stride. After one particularly physical game, she said, "It's a physical game. Go make the free throw and execute on offense."
She's now the biggest star in college sports, and she's playing at Iowa.
That's not just a rookie talking. That's a pro mindset right there. She's not complaining, not making excuses, just focusing on what she can control.
She carried a heavy load for our sport, and it just is not going to stop here.
But it wasn't just the occasional hard foul. This was happening game after game. Players like Chennedy Carter were coming at Clark with everything they had.
The WNBA draft is this huge success. Anybody that's paying attention, like, this is the biggest star in sports.
It was like watching a highlight reel of hard fouls. But Clark, she just kept playing her game. Her coach, Christy Sides, couldn't stop praising Clark's tough.
Sold out arenas that we've been playing in, and the way these guys have just kept growing. Like, they've just kept growing into being where we are right now. And
she saw firsthand how Clark was handling all this pressure. It's one thing to play well when everything's going your way.
The momentum just keeps going and going, and then she gets snubbed for the Olympics, and then
it's a whole other level to keep performing when you're getting knocked around every game. And let's not forget, Clark was doing all this while putting up insane numbers.
She's having this incredible deal, and people are sitting out here asking her questions.
We're talking 17 points, 6.5 assists, and 5.4 rebounds per game.
She's playing in a social issues league that wants to wear shirts that say vote.
That's not just good for a rookie. That's all-star level stuff right there. But here's the thing. All these challenges, they were making Clark stronger.
She just wants the ball. She just wants to be the best basketball player.
Every hard foul, every tough loss, every frustrating third quarter collapse, it was all part of her journey.
Caitlin Clark. I think she should be up for MVP. Rookie of the Year, foregone conclusion.
She was learning how to be a pro, how to handle adversity, how to lead a team, even when things aren't going your way.
To continue to do what she's doing, and no matter what other people do, then...
You know what's crazy? Some rookies would have crumbled under this kind of pressure.
And she's caught up in this political deal, and she's caught up in this racial discussion, and she's dealing with Nike, an organization.
They'd be complaining to the refs, letting their frustration show, but not Clark. She just kept her head down and kept working.
Played with Fag Benlay where they had her tied up and everybody just kind of walked away. I was like, oh man, they can't wait to get to Cancun.
That's the kind of attitude that separates the good players from the great ones. And let's be real, this kind of treatment, it's a sign of respect.
The Indiana Fever have their first playoff berth since 2016. Their home attendance was 1,800 fans.
Teams don't game plan for average players. They don't send double teams at rookies who aren't a threat.
She's learned how to play the game, and she said, I had to learn how to play the WNBA way.
The fact that Clark was getting this kind of attention, it shows just how much of an impact she was making in the league.
Caitlin Clark's not going to beat you by herself.
Clark had proven she could handle the regular season heat, but the playoffs, that's a whole different ballgame.
Her long year of basketball over, she was chosen #1 in the WNBA draft and took a team that had won 30 combined.
As the Indiana Fever faced off against the Connecticut Sun, no one could have predicted the controversy that was about to unfold on the court.
Caitlin Clark take the last shot of her season, one that ended with an 87-81 loss to the Sun in game.
The stage was set for an epic showdown. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation, was ready to lead her Indiana Fever into battle against the Connecticut Sun.
One that ended with an 87-81 loss to the Sun in Game 2 of the first round of the playoffs. Clark was the first one in the tunnel.
This wasn't just any game. This was the playoffs, where legends are made and dreams are shattered.
She needed a rest after the season. In college basketball, a month later, she's playing games, and she's playing against really good teams.
Clark came out swinging. She was on fire.
Her long year of basketball over, she was chosen #1 in the WNBA draft and took a team that had won 30 combined.
Putting up numbers that would make any veteran proud. We're talking 25 points, 6 assists, and 8 rebounds.
Her value is felt every place she goes, every arena she goes.
That's not just good, that's I'm here to win good. It was like watching a highlight reel in real time. But then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Marina Mabrey, playing for the Sun, went for a block on Clark. What happened next had everyone in the arena holding their breath. Mabrey's hand connected with Clark's face, hard. It was the kind of hit that makes you wince just watching it.
I'm talking about something that maybe is hard to define, and that is the value that she brings to her sport.
You know what's crazy? The refs missed it completely. It's like they were watching a different game or something. The crowd went wild. Fans were shouting, pointing, trying to get the refs' attention, but nothing. The game just kept going like nothing happened. People watching at home couldn't believe it either. Social media blew up. Everyone was talking about it. One fan even said, "That's a flagrant foul in the NBA." That's how bad it was. We're talking about a foul so obvious, so brutal, that it would have been called in any league.
I don't know if it was necessary, like, oh, I want this challenge because she's such a great player. She's not your typical rookie, but...
But here's where it gets really interesting. After the game, the WNBA took a closer look at what went down. They actually upgraded a different foul on Clark by Kennedy Carter to a flagrant one. It's like they were saying, okay, we messed up, but we're trying to make it right. You might be thinking, great, but what about the Mabrey foul? Well, that's the thing. Sometimes in sports, you don't get the call you deserve. It's tough, it's unfair, but it's part of the game. And Clark, she just kept playing, kept fighting.
Everything that she's been through, there's not that many folks that know what it's like to be in her shoes.
The Fever ended up losing the series to the Sun, 2-0. It was a tough way to end the season, especially after everything Clark had accomplished. But you know what? Even in defeat, Clark showed why she's special. Think about it. This rookie in her first playoff series is out there putting up numbers that would make some all-stars jealous. She's facing hard fouls, missed calls, and the pressure of the playoffs, and she's still balling out. That's not just talent, that's heart.
The fact that she is doing what she's doing, and at a very high level.
Sure, the season didn't end the way Clark or the Fever wanted, but if you look at the bigger picture, this playoff series was just the beginning for Clark. She proved she could hang with the best, even when the stakes were at their highest.
I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to...
Let's talk about Caitlin Clark's journey. This girl went from rookie sensation to playoff powerhouse, and she did it while facing some serious challenges. You know what's crazy? After all that, Clark decided to skip off-season basketball. Instead, she's spending time with family and getting ready for next season. That's a smart move right there.
She has you transfixed on the entire league. That's why I brought up Michael Jordan.
Her coach, Christy Sides, couldn't stop praising Clark's toughness. She said, just more happy that Caitlin handled it the way she did. She's continued to fight through that. That's not just talent, that's heart. You know what's even crazier? This is just the beginning for Clark. She's already shown she can handle anything the WNBA throws at her. With her focus on personal growth and resilience, Clark's not just playing the game, she's changing it. The future of women's basketball, it's looking bright, and Clark's leading the way.